Hi, Linnea. Hi, everyone.
Yay.
Hi.
But I mean, this session is mainly for you to really get an understanding. So it's just going to be like a presentation first from my end, and then it's going to be Lord Vickers and my other colleague Ferdinand who will take you through the field realities. So, I mean, I would love for us to introduce ourselves, but I know we have a lot of ground to cover. So it's just for everyone to, participate. And if there are any things that I might miss, I know Virginia is here as support, and also Peter, who's later on joining us, who is our carbon expert in the field. But since we have a lot of material, I think I'm going to start. But do you have any questions from your end, Epic, before we move ahead and move along?
Probably as we move along.
Yeah, of course. And I've also scheduled time so you get to ask questions. And for everyone else who is in this room, some of you have been a part of this process, but Epic Motions will be going to the field in, I think it was the 20th of July, to capture the visual representation of the full carbon project lifecycle. So now it's just to make them settle in and get an understanding of this life cycle, which is quite complex. So that's why we thought it's great to have an actual training, because we have produced a guidebook, but it's better for you also to be able to ask questions and so. Yes, let me see. I have the presentation. What? Computers. I know it's in full screen, right?
Yes.
But is it okay now as well?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, great. And we're recording, everything's well, perfect. So this will be the training on carbon project lifecycle. We will include both the field realities aspect and the theoretical approach, so like the more, I would say like school cover, so we understand the concepts. And this will be the agenda. So I will go through the steps. There are in total 9 steps. And for each step, I will also highlight some of the suggestions that we think would be suitable from our for a shot list. This is also to give you like a bit of the practical, clarify a bit, because if I talk about concepts, it might still sound a bit theoretical. So this is also to help you understand more. And field realities, which Ferdinand and Ludvikus will guide us through. Great. So this is just so that you get an overview. This is also an illustration that comes from the actual guidebook. So the title of the guidebook is A to Z for developing an AFLU carbon project for the voluntary carbon market. And what you need to know is AFLU is agriculture, forestry, and other land use. So within the carbon market, there are various sectors. There's energy, waste, water, but our niche is the land-based. So that's what we have focalized on. And voluntary carbon market, there's also a regulated market, which is where countries trade emission reductions between themselves. But this is, we are also on the voluntary carbon market where companies can interfere and purchase credits. But this guidebook is quite unique because we are one of the few actors in this field that follows the entire chain. So all the way from being a carbon project developer to like actually also selling the credits on the market. So that's what makes us quite unique in this space. But it is complex, and I'm happy to address any questions. So the first thing that happens, which is also very often in any project really, is that you create a project idea note. That's the first step. So, and this project idea note, also known as a PIN, is this early stage concept note assessing feasibility, the scope of the project, both like project boundaries, but also, the number of people involved, etc. And also stakeholder interest, who will be the investor, What else? Like, yeah, all the parties really involved. But this is just for you to understand that later on in this process, which is the third step actually, or the fourth, I think it's the fourth, is the PDD. So these are quite similar in terms of what they include, but they are very different in terms of like, you know, the extension of them. So the PDD is more, like I said, they're a technical blueprint required for validation and registration of the project in the standard body registration system. But I wanted to just showcase the difference, because when it comes to the visualization and like in terms of the photos that you will be taking, they are quite similar, so that you understand that. And these are the key concepts that are included often in a PIN. You have to select a carbon standard, which one you will follow. It could be, the biggest one is the Verified Carbon Standard, VCS, but there are many different ones in this AFLU carbon space. And each standard, so you have like VCS, for instance, each standard have a bunch of different methodologies that they sort of have available for the project developer to select from. So it can be methodologies for afforestation or revegetation or many different things. So you have to like select the methodology that you think is suitable for your project idea. Then you go into the eligibility criteria, which is crucial for a carbon project. This will always be like the central, and that's 4 concepts. It's permanence, which means like how long will the carbon be like stored within the project? Is it 40 years, 50? Like, what is the projection? Or will it be released again? You also have a baseline. So what is the expected carbon storage at this current state? And what will be the projection based on historical trends? So what is the current status, so that we understand what the project will contribute with. Then you have additionality. And these concepts, I understand that they are quite complex, and they're also in the guidebook, so you can read them through, but this is not really, you don't really have to capture them visually, it's just for you to understand. But additionality is to account for, like, is the carbon that is stored actually extra? Would they not be stored if the project would not exist? And leakage is that if you create this project, will then other emissions be happening somewhere else? For instance, in many projects have been very, in this AFLU space, they've been planting many of the same trees, which has then resulted in like deforestation somewhere else by the local people, because they have to still harvest a tree for like firewood. So that means that then there's a leakage in this project and it's not really eligible. Then you also have to do stakeholder mapping and consent. You have to like map the stakeholders that are will be participating. Land and carbon rights. Land rights is, you know, you have to have land tenure rights. So that's clearly registered under like the farmer, for instance, in our case. Carbon rights is like who owns the actual carbon that is stored. Financial feasibility and benefit sharing mechanism. What is like the financial model? How will the revenues be distributed to the actual project participants? And this is the biggest slide, so don't worry, they will not be this massive, but this is just some of the suggestions here then. So for the methodology, pictures can be like soil sampling, where you could highlight the baseline assessment for emission reductions. It could be a close-up shot and also staged at our agroforestry training center. It could also be a wide aerial view of farmland to show the scope of the land being assessed for carbon project feasibility, like a drone shot. So then you understand, like, okay, this is the scope geographically. Close-up of feasibility assessment, meeting with project developers, local stakeholders, and experts discussing the viability of the project. So it can be, you know, really the stakeholder gathering. Mapping the project boundaries using GPS or digital devices in the field, because you have to really be clear of like what is the farm, like the farm shape. This is what we call like farm tracking. Stakeholder engagement meeting where project developers are explaining the benefits of carbon credits to local farmers. Could be a group photo. Documents in different languages to illustrate the free prior informed consent, so that the consent is in the local language, so everyone understands what they're signing up to. Close-up of legal document, land classification, or close-up of farmers standing in front of the land with a clear marker showing the boundary of the land to illustrate land rights. Okay. So this was the heaviest part, even though there are many steps more to come. But okay, so the step 2 here then is contacting the standard. So when you have the PIN, you have to then start to engage with the standard, even though you might have already looked into the most suitable ones. And this is to understand the requirements and initiate the project listing, because you want the project to be listed and registered under the standard body. So you engage with the standard here, I don't know, email, phone call, and also they might guide you to select another methodology that is not the one that you originally selected. So it's just to get a better understanding. And these are some of the suggestions. So one thing that I really thought of was the difference in the methodologies. As I said before, like there are so many different ones. It could be like storing the carbon in the tree trunk. It could be in the soil. It could be like through different activities. So like I said, there, livestock. It could be agroforestry systems, because you then store it in the tree. So different type of system designs. It could be reduction in fertilizer application and tillage. Tillage is when you you till the soil and to prepare for sowing. Improvements in water management, mulching, cover crop planting and harvest, and composting. These are often things that are included in the AFLU methodologies. And also another thing could be picture of yield. It could be bag of maize or biodiversity to exemplify additional impact and indicators for the project, because often you have selected the methodology, but as a project developer, you want also to showcase other benefits that are derived from your idea. And then the third step now is the PDD, preparation validation of this more heavy document. And as for the PIN, it's the same concepts that are included there, but now it's also more detailed, like baseline scenario, what is the current status and what are we aiming for? The monitoring plan, how often will we be monitoring? What will we be looking at? Stakeholder engagement, who will be the ones that we engage with fully and have like truly been onboarded at this point? Validation by third-party body. Someone has to do the third-party verification, but we will get to that later. And the PDD must also align with the selected standards criteria. So the standard also have a bunch of criteria that you then have to like align with. So it's not easy to be a project developer in this space. You have to account for a lot of stuff. And like I said here, most photos from step 1 are also applicable here. Site visit by verification team could be also included, checking that the carbon project location or practices. Could be a team like on-site visit. It could also be, what did I say? A picture of Mount Elgon Project showing activities like agroforestry and livestock management in practice. Yeah, and these are like I said, also aligned with the PIN. But now I'm gonna pause for a second, and I'm gonna do this after every 3 steps. So if you have any questions at this point, or if any of my colleagues would also like to make a contribution. Oh, you're muted, Mukam.
Maybe just to understand, on a previous slide, there were different methodologies where there was the agroforestry, the livestock. That this project covers, this slide. So the livestock, agroforestry, the reduction. Does the project that VI is doing cover all this, or you need the visualizations of this for the purposes of someone who wants to understand projects?
I would say we have all of these in our projects. Then they might not be covered under the methodology that we're using currently. Like, for instance, I don't think improvements in water management is included, but we have that in our project sites. But yeah, all of them are still like included that you could find in reality in the field. I don't see it. Is Lord Vickers, would you also agree that that's the case?
Yes, that is the case. In fact, we have all of them. Farmers are practicing all these that are listed here.
Okay.
But like livestock is mainly on one of our carbon project that's called Livelihoods Mount Elgon. But in the KACP side, all these are being practiced by farmers, though not all farmers. So it depends with the farmer what is applicable. Like when it comes to improvement in water management, especially those farmers that are staying in slopy areas around Mount Elgon, at least they've come up with some structures like terracing as one way of of maybe controlling soil and water conservation, in soil and water conservation. But now it depends anyway.
Yeah. So they exist for sure.
They exist, yes.
Yeah. It's just, I think, with the storyboard production later on, we can also then, it becomes more clear for instance, Lord Vickers and Ferdinand to find the appropriate farms where this is showcased so that you can capture it. Yeah, thank you so much, Lord Vickers, for that contribution. Any other questions from you, Epic? Moiro?
Yes, I have a question. So my question is for this particular, for example, that shortlist that we just, the one that we just came from, I'm assuming that we are expected to capture each and every process, meaning that we maybe might find either a farmer who has done most of them, or a couple of farmers who maybe have done the best of each. So also the other question is in terms of capturing the photos, I'm also assuming that we are going to, in the video, we are going to capture the farmers in the shot, maybe, or whoever is actually doing the work, and also the farm without any particular person in it, just to capture maybe the trees, maybe if it's that terracing just on its own, is just an assumption that, maybe a need clarification,
Yeah, but I think that will be great to capture from different perspectives, to both have like with the farmer and just the actual practice in itself. I mean, I don't have any like really opinions on the different. I think it's good to have like both. Specifically, when we talk about agroforestry, it's always difficult to visualize on the ground. So agroforestry, it's always positive to have an aerial view, for instance. But I hope it addressed your questions. But I mean, this is also to make your mind start thinking of the best way to approach it. Yeah.
Great. And we are going to be capturing all these particular steps. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So that every step has some sort of visual representation. Yeah. But as I said, the step 1 and 3 are very much aligned, so you could also think of them as one. But of course, the project idea note is more in relation to like exploration and, you know, consultation, whereas the PDD is more detailed. But yeah. Sorry.
What Moiro was trying to maybe communicate, once we go to allocation, he's trying to say there'll be like three or so sets per location. So the first set has a subject in the picture. Then we complete the series of that particular set. Then we enter a set where there is nobody. And I believe from the meeting we had last week, we also agreed we might also need some minutes to capture just sounds of the particular area. So I think Moiro is in that instance talking about the production in terms of the time or how we've divided our visit to every location. There'll be 2 to 3 sets per location is what Moiro is saying.
I think that's too early to say, because I think we first need like to understand what we will be capturing. So I think first we need the storyboard, and then Ferdinand and Vickers and the team on the ground can start seeing, okay, what is it, like which farmers are best suited for these practices? Will it be 3 sites? Will it be 1 site? So I think it's a bit too early to say, since we don't know yet exactly what we will capture, since this is just suggestions and to just make you begin the creative process. But I think that will be much clearer when we have the storyboard in front of us to plan, you know, most efficiently. Virginia, see your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Linnea. Maybe if I understand, I think I understand where it's coming from. And maybe my thinking is when we are capturing, especially now because this one is the component of the implementation activities, which should be one of the main activities we should be visualizing, I think it means that, or they mean that we should capture these in different angles. We should capture farmers in action, what has come out of it, and maybe field officers or project officers training the farmers on how to do it. Maybe capturing it from, if it's, let's say, tree planting, before we capture the aerial view, because I think also that is important, how do the process of getting them from maybe the nursery, also the farmer doing the planting, and the field officers maybe training, capturing all those activities from different angles. Maybe you can make me understand whether it is that way, but as you said, I think it's something we need to think and see how we can bring it on to capture everything in different angles, to capture everything.
Thank you so much. And that is step 5. So the inception and implementation. But let me move forward now, since time is running, and you can collect more, save your questions, and then we bring them up a bit later on. But that's for sure, Virginia, super important to capture, like the tree planting, the nursery action, and all of those things. So definitely. So write down your questions and save them for a little bit later, since time is also running. But you will see that is included. Thank you so much. So step 4 is listing and registration. So when you have done the PDD, you can also, these things happen quite like, it's not a straightforward process. When you've done the PDD, you can also initiate the project, but often you would like to have it registered also. So this is the step 4 in this sequence. So this is to get the recognition of the project by the standard body. So what this includes is that you submit the PDD to them, to the standard registry, and they will then review the entire PDD, and then they will approve it for eligibility. So this is why the eligibility concepts are also so crucial. And you have to be registered in order to do an issuance of carbon credits, which is the end goal. You want to be able to sell the stored carbon on the market and as carbon credits. So you have to be registered to do that. And this could be a close-up of the PDD being signed. It could be the registration process where you have a verifier team on site with farmers. It can also be a verifier reviewing documents with project staff, like geographic information system maps, like more detailed maps than the ones that are often available. Monitoring reports. It could also be a photo of a carbon credit certificate or registry entry confirmation. It could be a screenshot or printout of the VERA, the VCSA, as I mentioned before, registry listing page. It can be marked if needed. So this is just, this is like admin stuff, really. And then we go to the step that Virginia highlighted, which is the most fun part, I would say. But it's the launch and the operationalizing of the project, which is like when things really start. So now you've done all the planning, and now finally you get to put your hands in the mud. And this is when you start the stakeholder engagement and trust building. So really when you start to engage on the ground with the people who are involved. So in our case, often the smallholder farmers. So risk management and planning. You have to have a very clear idea of the risks in the area, the climate, financial, social aspects. Monitoring and evaluation setup so that you understand exactly how will we monitor the carbon stored? Will it be by the farmers themselves? What system will we use, like IT system? Will we use, in our case, we use like SMS, like text messages. Yeah, so various ways to do that. Environmental and social impact assessment, like what is the actual impact of this project, both from a positive and negative angle. Gender analysis and inclusive contracting. We want to make sure that the gender dimensions are always considered. For instance, when it comes to land tenure, women don't often own their own land. So how do we make sure to make this into an inclusive space for women as well? And the contracting, to make sure that everyone understands and are a part of it. And now we get to what Virginia was highlighting, for instance, let's see the lower part, the yellow, farmers planting trees or applying sound practices like composting, mulching, and so on. But let's start from the top. Farmers inspecting fields after climate event, for instance, drought or flood, to show climate risk awareness and, this risk management. A project facilitator and a farmer in one-on-one dialogue to illustrate trust and consent. Farmer using a smartphone or tablet to input data. We are using a tool called Kobo Toolbox. Close-up of a checklist or ECR from being filled out. Then you could have also women participating in a training or leadership meeting. Household meeting with both men and women to discuss land use and how to have an inclusive space. Community nursery with seedlings being prepared and also, I would say, distributed. Field officer training farmers on agroforestry techniques or other techniques for that matter. But yeah, I think Virginia had some additional other ones that were really great, so those should also be included here. Then another step, and then I can do questions, another question round. But then we do monitoring and reporting. So you have the project ongoing, you have done the inception, but remember, like, this happens like over several years. I mean, our project includes several thousands of farmers, and it's not like we just onboarded them all at once. This was something that happened step by step. So as goes also for the monitoring, this is when you track progress and ensure compliance. And what you need to do is that you have field data collection that you do quite regularly. You also have often remote sensing, which is when you use, like, for instance, satellite imagery to measure carbon stock. Also do regular progress reports and stakeholder updates of what is happening, because as I said, these are quite long projects as well, so things might change, and that also goes into the adaptive management. You might need to change along the road, and you do periodic impact assessments like every 5 years or so, so that you follow up this ESEA that you did in the PDD. And these are some suggestions. You could do community members recording measurements of diameter breast height. This is when you measure around the tree trunk, or collecting samples like dairy. Farmers texting or writing down their collected data. Before we had text messages, we had like written down like on a piece of paper. So there are various ways to do it. Using Kobo Toolbox, data system for data collection. Happy farmer that holds up their measuring cup for milk. A project facilitator talking to a farmer in private, discussing a concern or guiding them through the grievance process, showing dialogue of trust and resolution. So yeah, it's important to have this grievance mechanism so that if there's any problem occurring, the farmer can address it. A farmer and project facilitator standing together on a field while the facilitator points out something like practical assistance or learning. Yeah, you see many steps. So questions so far. And then we have like the selling of the credits, and then I'm done. Virginia, did I capture it? Moiru, I see your hands up.
Oh, yes. My question is, first of all, thank you so much for the short list suggestions. I think they are very helpful to help us just to visualize exactly what is expected of us to do. So my question is towards when the farmers are looking at the land to see the effects of drought and maybe flood, that kind of damage. I don't know whether we have maybe a land that has been affected by either drought or floods that we can be able to capture, in July, or is it something that we will need to stage? For example, maybe just, I don't know how we can be able to do that. If it's possible that it is there, then that will make it easier. But if we need to stage also, we need to plan for that.
Yeah, and that was just an idea from my end to illustrate like the risk assessment. But I mean, it could be a risk assessment could be also visualized in another way, which doesn't have to include, be in an area of drought. So it was just also, I don't really know how to do a representation of a risk assessment, but you are free to interpret it otherwise. So I wouldn't say don't put too much emphasis on staging something like that. It sounds a bit too complex.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Was there any other hand up, or was that yours, Moiru?
No, it was mine, yes.
Okay. But if you have another idea how you can visualize a risk assessment, that is much welcomed. And also, if you think of any other way of visualizing any of these other things that I'm talking about, I appreciate that a lot, because this is just me trying to figure out.
It's okay. I think as we prepare the storyboard and the treatment, we'll be able to capture as practically as possible everything that you have suggested, plus all we can be able to add.
Beautiful, Miru. Thank you so much. Wakami, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. I think this step is also highlighting the collection of data as a key point. The Kobo tool, this is accessible to even the stakeholders, or is it just an internal tool?
I think it's an internal tool, but please, Virginia, are you there? Or perhaps someone else. I don't know if Ferdinand or Lord Vickers, you might know too.
I ask because I think it's an interesting angle. I think it's a technology angle to the project. Maybe they have a Kobo tool, because you've mentioned earlier you used to use manual papers. So probably it could be an indicator of moving also towards tech, which is not too bad for any project. I don't know whether it's just the internal side or even the guys on the ground use it.
Now, I think that the Kobo toolbox is more to collect the data. Like, so you have like all the farmers, if I understood right, at least in our projects, they text the figures, like the diameter, breast height, and then that is entered automatically in the Kobo toolbox. So they don't have access to it.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's still like that's one of. I'm also going to send you the updated version of the guidebook, where we clearly also mention a lot of like the importance of optimization and including tech in these aspects, because it becomes so heavy to handle all the data. Like these projects are basically like monitoring projects, so it's super important to have like good systems to accommodate that much data. I hope that answered your question. And yeah, and I see Douglas has his hand up. No? It's a bit difficult to see.
Yes, please, Linnea.
Hi.
Just to add on. Hi, yeah. For Livelihoods Mount Elgon Project, when it comes to data monitoring and collection, we have mobile app that is linked to the MIS, so they use the app to do the data collection. But we only use the Kobo for our internal verifications and controls, to just, when trying to do the monitoring, to check if everything is doing our QA/QC. But basically for data collection that is in line with carbon monitoring, for carbon Livelihoods Mount Elgon, we have an app that is linked to an MIS. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you so much, Douglas, for sharing. Yeah. So you see, there are various ways to do it. And I think that also, yeah, I wouldn't say all projects are unique, but there are so many apps out there, as I'm sure that you're aware of. But thank you so much, Douglas, for clarifying. Was there another hand? I think I saw Ludwig's.
Yes, and for cars, they just do the normal SMS while sending data to the MIS.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, so that's some things that you can actually capture on the ground. How they submit the data. Yeah, Mukami.
So that in the terms of training the partners, so that is also a place that you guys train them on how to do the data collection.
Yeah.
Is it a step in the process, so that we also know whether that is good to capture, maybe a trainer showing the stakeholder how to either upload the data, whether it's through SMS or through the link that
yeah, the app.
There, yeah, the app, yes.
Yeah, that would definitely be a part of the training, for sure. That they receive. It's quite a massive training.
Okay.
But yeah, any of my colleagues, please correct me if I'm wrong, since I've not done it myself, but this is what I've been told.
Yes, I think maybe I can say something. Okay, it's not partners per se, but there are people who are supporting us on the ground. We call them community facilitators. So these are the people who are help in training the farmers and assist them to collect the data from their farms, and thereafter also participate in the submission of this data through SMS. So we have a number of community facilitators on the ground that are working with farmer groups down there. So they're the people who support when it comes to data collection and the data submission.
Okay, let me do a follow-up, because there's something else I've just heard. There are people called community facilitators. So if we are capturing the entire project, for it to work, we also need to know who is required on the ground for support of the project. So perhaps it would be also good for us to know, apart from the VI staff, is it important to be clear about what it takes in terms of persons or roles for the projects to work? So if there are roles within the project, it could be good for maybe when you are captioning to say this is a community facilitator and what they normally contribute to the project. Apart from VI staff and probably the stakeholders.
Yeah, to showcase all the actors involved in this process.
Even just maybe for correct captioning. You know, who is it? When you see someone in the picture, they are not just there. It's either the farmer, community facilitator, VI staff, so that we are clear when you are captioning who is in the photo. Yeah.
I see my colleagues have some hands up. I can't really see the order. Can you see it, Mukami?
I think I saw Linnea.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so maybe I want to say, first of all, I think there are some of the specifics I would like to, or we will have to make the team understand, Mukami and the team, because there's the governance structure, and I agree with what Linnea said. Each carbon project is unique, but there are things which are similar. The process which Linnea just has taken us through is common or has to be in all carbon projects. But when you look at our two carbon projects, for example, the KACP and Mount Elgon, the governance structure is quite a bit different. So that is where you find that you have some missing gaps when you look at how information is flowing, the interaction from above, let's say from the project manager down to the farmers themselves. So there are those key steps and people who are involved, and of which we can share the, or Ferdinand and Lord Vickers are here, they can be able to explain the channel, the chain in which things are gone. For example, if it is training the farmers on how to capture the data on their farms and sending them back using the SMS or whatever instrument they are using to share the data they have collected, of course, it starts from above. We have the let me start from the project team, from project manager and the program officers or field officers. They are trained by what we call the unique land use. They are the ones who train us on how to, they are the experts when it comes to the standard requirement and the measurement of the and collection of carbon data on the ground. Of course, we are trained with the project officers, and then now project officers trains the what we call the community facilitators, and now the community facilitators, they train the farmers on the ground. So that is a process which is undertaken, and I feel like currently maybe there's that gap of understanding how the governance structure is, or all information is trickled down to the farmer. If I make sense, or if that makes you understand more.
I think it's important to understand like the action in itself is happening, but the governance structure is unique, as you say, for like, I would say almost every project. It depends on how the contextualities on the ground. So for you, in order to simplify this a bit for you at EPIC, I think it's the training in itself is important to capture, like the actual when farmers receive information on how to do data collection, but who is in the picture, like if it's a community facilitator or not, it's just a training being received, because then who is the actual sender or like trainer, that might differ depending on the context.
Okay.
I hope that like clarified it.
Yeah.
but I'm seeing that I'm like, I just, yeah, time is running so fast. And I love that you are asking questions. It's perfect. And this is what it's for. But I was thinking that I could, the next steps is, I mean, it's the same structure. So I will send you this PowerPoint and you can look through them, because this is then more like just, yeah, I won't say anything more new, I would say. It's, this is more like admin things, but I will share this with you so that I also give some time for Ferdinand and Ludvikus to share. Would that be okay, Mukami, you think?
That's okay. I was actually going to ask whether it's possible for us to have it once the meeting was concluding, but I'm happy to hear.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also that if you have any questions then on these last 3 steps, just, yeah, we can even have a phone call or something if you wonder something.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, but then I let in, I don't know if it's you, Ferdinand, or Ludvikus, or, yeah. I see, Virginia, did you have your hand up too?
Just a quick one, Linnea.
Yeah, of course.
From the short suggestion, I saw that there was a suggestion of the verification team on the ground, and since I think will this exercise be taking place next month, perhaps when it comes to the verification team, I don't know how that can be
staged.
Staged, or perhaps we might need to maybe come up with using some of the photos we got during just completed verification from the ground, because I think it's not possible to capture this one.
Oh, you think? You're not even staging it? Like having someone pretend that they're a verification
No, that is the point. Now, like maybe, I don't know, it's quite difficult because for verification is quite evident, but we can think about it, how to do it. We can perhaps I don't know, yeah, just thinking out.
Yeah, but it's great. And also, if you have any photos, as you just mentioned, Virginia, just you can send it to me and I will also forward it. But I think that yeah, of course we can't have the verification team being there, and I don't think they would agree either to be on camera.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we would just have to make do, perhaps, like yeah, staging it. But if you think of anything, Virginia, let me know. You've also received the shot list suggestions so that you can also add if you think of anything there.
Yeah, okay.
Let's be creative. Thank you, Virginia. Miro, did you have your hand up?
Yes. Just a follow-up from what Virginia has talked about, that there are some processes where you guys have photos. We would actually those photos would help us so much. So if we can have them shared to us, and not only for the verification, if you have any photos with any other steps, it will be very helpful for us to visualize what we'd like to say. And also, I'd just like to back up what Linnea has said. We are able to reenact situations. We can just stage another person to act as the verifier. So that will just need for us, if we can have those photos, so that we can also, maybe we can actually use some of them in our storyboarded treatment.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, I mean, I've added several reference photos in the, what's it called? Before the onboarding process, the terms of reference. That I've tried to make my best to locate sort of representation. So please take a look at that one too, because there are some captures, some of them captured there. But yeah, great. Thank you so much. So yeah, I hand over to Ludvikus or Ferdinand.
I'll take it up, Linnea. So, sorry, I joined a little late. I'm out in the field. Sometimes we multitask on some of these issues. Not that I forgot there was a meeting. I knew it was, but I think I was overtaken by a small event I was trying to do. But I think I've gotten most of the issues so far. So to the guests, my name is Ferdinand. Let me see if I can put on my camera, although I'm sitting right. Yeah, okay, there I am. But Ferdinand Okinyi is my name. I work as a project manager for the other carbon project, Mount Elgon Project. So I want to take it from here, but first, 2 comments. One is that on the issue of some of the processes that are, let's say, past or are not like available to us, for instance, the verification, I think I will say that we can reenact them. Our idea was to see whether we can stage some of them. Virginia, I don't think it would be much of a big deal. We just need to think through it as you're preparing the storyboard. What exactly do we need to put in place to reenact that properly? Second comment is I like the idea about sharing photos with you to give you an idea of what it means. And on the same, then I want to request Douglas to see if for some of the ideas, whichever is applicable, you may be able to get a few photos, particularly the ones we have used before, or even the ones that are in our repository. You can put in a folder and maybe share with Linnea so that she can quality check and then make it available to them to have a look. But they would need to have some good description for them to be able to understand, probably attach it to the idea itself so that they can be able to see what that means. I know we have lots of photos, particularly when it comes to group meetings and all. Even for verification itself, I think we have some of these processes. We have had some photos. I think we can be able to get them and share. So those were my comments, but I will maybe do 1 or 2 of the slides and I will leave it for Vickers and then finally Douglas. So we just wanted to make you understand that these steps that Linnea has taken through have been documented in a guide we call A to Z guidelines. But the guide is prepared sort of sequentially. But on the ground, you need to understand that probably some of these things don't happen sequentially in the way that they've been presented. It's very possible that some of these processes could go, in different ways. Sometimes parallel. It depends on the context. It depends on the original design that was there. It depends on the carbon type itself. I mean, the carbon project itself. Because, for instance, we have in the Mount Elgon project, we have the dairy component that may not necessarily 100% follow that sequence in certain elements. So like we're saying that the reality is the context, the situation may limit the sequence itself. So you just need to be aware about that. I gave an example here where validation and verification can be done together, although they are separate processes, but it's allowed that they can be done at the same time. So to differentiate the story may not be very easy, because the same person doing the validation could be at the same time carrying out the verification process. Implementation and monitoring sometimes also go hand in hand, because we don't separate a specific moment that now it is only monitoring and now it is only implementation. We'll be collecting data as we also implement. So what this essentially means is you could have one group meeting, you do your training there, maybe on the implementation activities, but this same meeting is also used for monitoring to collect data. So that, I think, needs to be clear. And maybe the next slide then. Okay, so maybe Lord Vickers, on your behalf, I would just quickly talk about the project area. These two projects, they are carbon projects, but by regulation, you cannot have carbon projects in the same area, because otherwise it would be akin to double dipping on claims on credit. So for these two carbon projects, we have them in separate regions. For KACP project, we have it in Bungoma, Siaya, and Kisumu, and you can see there we've just indicated in which parts they are. Ideally, it's grouped into two regions, Kisumu and Bungoma. But I think it is important to note that the Bungoma side, because the Livelihoods project is also in Bungoma side, we created some buffer between where KACP ends and where Livelihoods begin. So we have a very clear buffer there that we don't have any overlaps or crossover. Yes, Bungoma, KACP is in Siaya, and it's also in Kisumu. Next slide.
I just wanted to ask Epic if it's okay that we extend with like 15 to 20 minutes. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great. And if any of my colleagues need to leave, apart from then Ferdinand and Ludvikus, of course, that's fine if you have other engagements. Thank you, and sorry for extending.
Yeah, so this next slide also describes the Mount Elgon project. So besides Bungoma, which we share with KACP, but as I've stated, we are in different regions, absolutely. So for Mount Elgon, we are also in Trans Nzoia County, within 4 sub-counties. So we have stated them there. In Trans Nzoia, we are only not participating in one sub-county. We are only doing one location of that county. So it's insignificant, so to speak, but we are largely in the 4 sub-counties. In Bungoma, we are in those 6 sub-counties, and next to it, you can also see now we've broken it even down further in terms of the divisions and locations for KACP. This information, I think, was more useful for you to just appreciate the depth and breadth of this project in terms of where they are located. However, based on the storyboard that you will develop, because one of the way forwards that you would have loved after this is to maybe agree on a next meeting that, as I shared with Linnea yesterday, that would already give, a bit of, clear thought lines around how we are approaching this, what are we looking at, what we need, and then that can help us make decisions on specific locations that we can host this. Hopefully we won't have to go to Siaya or Kisumu. That maybe KACP, we can only be able to do it in Bungoma. And of course, for livelihoods, maybe we can concentrate in Trans Nzoia. But that will be decided after we all agree on how to proceed with this. Maybe next one, I don't know whether it was still me taking that or Ludvikus. Let's see. Yes, so again, on this, I will also just take this again. This is for information so that you also understand when it comes to monitoring, we are looking at certain concepts or certain specific components for carbon. So in both projects, we have the VCS component, VCS being a standards body, now popularly known as Vera. So this one helps us measure the soil organic carbon and also the tree biomass. So when we say soil organic carbon, this is about practices that we do in the farm, sustainable agriculture land management practices, which are aimed at improving soil structure, soil composition, so that we can increase yield. Why is this information important? So when we talk about monitoring particularly, and we are saying, or even verification, it's a point where the verifier would like to confirm farm that the farmer, can I use the word, claims that I produce so many bags of maize because in this plot of land I used compost manure. In this plot of land, I harvested maize and I did not burn residues. So some of those statements are really about these land practices, sustainable practices that we promote. And so the thinking here should be how can we demonstrate that? How can we capture that in terms of this filmography? Yeah, so this applies to both projects. There is also the tree element where we measure tree. Measuring trees is easy. I think that one can easily be staged because you just need someone to be able to measure a diameter at breast height and probably doing counting. And we also we'll probably have close-up shots of the app, how it is being recorded and all for Mount Elgon, and for KACP right now probably how the recording is transferred into the SMS. And for the dairy aspect, you need to just understand that this is more to do with working towards increasing productivity in terms of dairy production. It's putting in effort to try and increase the unit production of milk per animal. And here then we'll be able to measure efficiency and scientifically be able to use that efficiency factor to calculate reduction in emission of carbon. But it also goes hand in hand with production system. So when we say production system, in a layman's language, there are those who will keep animals and let them roam free or graze them out there, take them out to the fields to graze, looking for where the grass is greener for them to graze, bring them back home. So that we call free range. And then there is those who will do pure zero grazing, meaning the animals are enclosed almost 100%, and all the food and feeds are brought to them, and everything is done like where they are. But there's also a mix between these two, where you can enclose them, but you also go getting food for them, but you also can let them go graze a little bit out there. Or if you have a large farm, then maybe you can paddock and still be able to graze them at the same time. So that is semi-intensive. Those three systems have an implication on efficiency and have an implication in terms of how much carbon emission is reduced. And so again, the thought line here is when we do the dairy concept, we are thinking of maybe getting two different farms, one that is semi-intensive and maybe another that is probably intensive, just to demonstrate the difference. So again, once we develop this storyboard, then we can be able to really be clear with some of this. I think the next slides will be taken by my colleagues, maybe Lord Vickers, and then Douglas. Thank you so much. And if there are questions, we'll answer.
Thank you, Ferdinand.
Thank you.
Lord Vickers?
Can I go?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. I'm Lord Vickers Okwach. Yes. Yeah, we just wanted to bring out to you the difference between the two carbon projects. That is Kenya Agricultural Carbon Project and Livelihoods Mount Elgon Project. So I've listed the main differences between the two. Like for number one, after every period, monitoring period, the verifier comes for KACP, does the verification, and at the end of it all, there is, if the verification goes through, there's a carbon revenue that is distributed to these farmer groups that we work with, the farmer groups that are implementing this project. So that does not happen for Mount Elgon. Then too, the way we collect data from these farmers, for Kenya Agricultural Carbon, we collect data from all farmers, and we have a total of 30,000 households that we collect data from, and this is used for accounting for the carbon generated. But for the Livelihoods project, they are doing sampling. They just sample some few farmers and then collect data from those farmers, and that is what is used. Then again, in terms of the target farmers, the total number of farmers or the beneficiaries for this project, for KACP, we are working with around 30,000. The number may fluctuate because sometimes some farmers are not found around when we are collecting data, but the figure we have in our system is 30,300 farmers. But for livelihood, they have 15,000 households that they work with. So that's almost half of the number we have under KACP. Then again, this project started at different times. KACP started in 2009 and has got a crediting period of 20 years. Livelihood started in the year 2016 and has a crediting period of 10 years. Again, from what Ferdinand has presented, KACP is implemented in 3 counties, that is Bungoma, Siaya, and Kisumu. But for livelihood, it is only in Trans Nzoia and Bungoma. Then we have also a difference in the crops we monitor under these 2 projects. We normally collect data on yields to find out how these SALM practices have improved on the yield of the farms. That is reflected by, how the SALM practices have improved the fertility of the soil. And how do we monitor that? We do so by collecting data on yields. So for KACP, we have 6 crops. That is maize, groundnut, beans, sorghum, cassava, and sweet potato. But for livelihood, we have banana, sweet potato, Irish potato, maize, and beans. Then for KACP, we don't lay a lot of emphasis on milk production, as my colleague has explained. For them, their project was somehow aligned with the dairy value chain. Then again, for livelihood, they lay a lot of emphasis on the implementation of 4 SALM practices. That is the cover crop. I think you can cover crop, mulching, agroforestry.
And composting.
Composting, yes. But for us, there are so many, around 8 of them: cover crop, composting, agroforestry. We also follow up on soil and water conservation, tillage, and many others. In fact, almost everything. Yeah, we can move to the next slide. So under group formation, what I would like to say is that when the Kenya Agricultural Carbon Project started, or even Mount Elgon Livelihood, there were already some groups that were existing in the community. But there are also some groups that we formed because you find in some areas we didn't have groups, but we wanted to work with farmers from those areas. So we mobilized the community and they were willing to join the projects. And in the process now, they agreed to form groups. So we have two different types of groups, those that we formed and the ones that we found there. So, so there are stages we went through at inception. So first of all, it was sensitization, holding sensitization meetings. These ones were done through the area administration, like the chiefs or sub-chiefs who supported us to mobilize the community. Then during those times, the groups that were there identified themselves, they approached us, and then we managed to reach them like that. And for us also to work with a group, because we needed these groups to register with the Ministry of Social Services. So those groups that were willing had to go and register, because most of the groups we found there were not registered, though a few were already registered. But that was now our condition, the requirement that for them to join the project, they had to seek the registration by the ministry. Then we also, to strengthen these groups, we introduce what we call village savings and loaning, whereby these farmers were saving their own money and loaning to members, and that worked well, and in fact helped us also to build these groups to make them strong. We also conducted some trainings for these farmer groups, like on group dynamics, because we supported them to come up with the constitutions. There were some groups that were already existing, but they didn't have a constitution. So we supported them, guided them to help them come up with good constitutions. We also trained them on record keeping and how to solve conflicts amongst themselves. Then after that is when now we started training them on the SALM practices. So that's how the groups came into existing, the groups we work with. So about agroforestry, I've given a definition there that it is an agricultural system where woody perennials, these woody perennials are trees, shrubs, and bamboo, are deliberately integrated in the same land management units as agricultural crops, that is perennial or annual crops, and or animals in some spatial arrangement or temporal sequence. But the keyword here is deliberate integration of these trees in croplands. You can continue. So the agroforestry systems, an agroforestry system is a distinct use of different agroforestry practices in different locations and over a certain period of time. The most common systems that we have are five. These five, the agri-silvicultural, whereby we have a farmer having crops with the trees within the farm. These trees can be in a certain pattern, like maybe in a row, or they can just be scattered within the cropland. Then we have silvipastoral. This is where farmers grow trees, but they also keep livestock. Then we have agrosilvipastoral. This is where the farmer has three components, the crops component, the tree component, and the animal component. All these being managed under same land management unit. Then aquasilvicultural is where farmer has got a fish pond, but they also grow trees around the pond. And in most cases, these are leguminous trees which have got, they're planted around the pond so that the leaves can fall within the pond, and the leaves are fed on by the fish. Then we have entomosilvicultural, where farmers are having the trees and the insects. The insects feed on the leaves of these trees. Like I've given two examples, sericultural, whereas we have those silkworms and the mulberry trees, and apicultural, where we have bees and trees. So these are the main agroforestry systems, 5 of them, that we will also come across while in the field.
And I can just add to that, Ludwig, is like, I think it's important for within this whole carbon, these carbon projects, is that you're able to capture not just one agroforestry systems where trees are, for instance, at the edge of a field, which is called boundary planting, but you're also able to capture like tree formations where trees are scattered on the farmland. Because this is important to illustrate to the project developers who've been reading this, that you can do this agroforestry systems in various ways and also with different species. Because often otherwise people are limited to think like, it's just rows that work. So yeah, I just wanted to add, but thank you so much. Ludwig, because I don't know if you finished there. I think next slide was about monitoring.
Yeah, that one I think is Douglas now to present on that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Douglas, are you there?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, there was some echo.
Yeah, thank you so much. Allow me take a few minutes to just do this presentation. It's not long enough. Around difference in monitoring of SALM, dairy component, and full farm survey. So when it comes to the KACP project, currently what is happening is more of the approach is more of a full census approach. And this means farmers fill the farmer commitment form, all the farmers. Then these farmer commitment form are summarized into group level summaries, then submitted by SMS to the MIS. Also, one thing that I also noted here is that this farmer commitment form is a one-time detailed data collection tool, and it is key for carbon monitoring because the data that we get from there that is the one that is used for doing the MRV, and then of course the monitoring. Then another thing to note is that this form, the farmer commitment forms, are actually filled by the farmer, and maybe in some cases the CF can come in to offer some support. So for the KACP, it's like we go for all the farmers we submit the farmer commitment form. They fill. After filling the farmer commitment form, the information is summarized into group level summaries sent by SMS to the MIS, and that information is key for carbon monitoring. Then for livelihood, it has like 2 sub-elements in it when it comes to the monitoring. One, there's what we call the annual SALM data, which still it's just a one-page self-reporting, and we use a farm activity monitoring form. Then this farm activity monitoring form is then used to generate the group summaries submitted into the MIS via SMS. But also after that, there's now a sample-based survey for the full farm survey, whereby now a few samples are picked. Then we go back with a more detailed form. And in this case, now the full farm survey is done by the field officers who are trained to do the analysis, filling, and also the validation of the data. Maybe next slide.
You see it, Douglas? I've changed slides.
Not yet, not yet.
Ah, weird. It says tree inventory and farm tracking. That's strange.
Okay,
Do you
yeah.
see it?
Now,
I see. Oh,
yes,
perfect.
yes. Now, when it comes to tree inventory and farm tracking, for KACP, all the agroforestries are counted, then categorized by diameter using some small poles with a 30 centimeter rule. And the categorization in this case is like how many have diameter below like 10 centimeters, how many trees have diameter between 10 to 20 centimeters, then how many have diameter above 20 centimeters. That is the categorization I'm referring to. However, for Livelihoods Mount Elgon, when it comes to the tree inventory, we have a sample. This sample, it uses the GPS pinned plots for both center and border. So a few farmers are sampled. Then those farmers that are sampled, they have at the point of sampling, the team doing the sampling, in this case is the unique team, they place the GPS point, one on the center of the farm, then another on the border. Then so it is our duty to navigate to those points. Then within those points, we have, for the center one, there's a specific radius. We do 12.62 meters radius. We count the trees there. We can either do a DBH or RCD. DBH is for the tall trees. RCD is in cases where like a tree has been cut, but you see there's an element of sprouting from that tree. That's when we do the RCD. Then we also proceed to the border, whereby we still navigate to find the GPS point. Then we'll always do measurement 20 meters on both sides along the border. But the measurement will still also do the DBH and the RCD. When it comes to farm tracking, both projects, both KACP and Livelihood, they all do farm tracking. And this farm tracking, they require farmer consent. And farm tracking can either be done by just walking around the farm or by placing the GPS, just points. You tap the points to just have the shape of the land, or even you can use the satellite to redraw the shape of the land. Then also with the farm tracking, we also place GPS points on those particular farms. for traceability purposes, so that once we are done and we want to relocate that farm, it is easy to do that. Next slide. I don't know, it's taking long.
Yeah, I know it's strange, but yeah, I've switched. It's about the milk monitoring, but it might come in a few seconds.
So even as we wait for it, about milk monitoring, this is purely for Livelihoods Mount Elgon Project, and in this case, we have sampled farmers from a group. Then, because these groups under ones, they form a small cluster, that is a small manageable number of groups under CF. So a farmer is sampled from a group, but also we also have a control farmer selected by the CF at cluster level. So we maintain this sample throughout the project. And when it comes to monitoring routine, we do monthly data for 3 consistent days. So if this farmer gives us milk on date 10, 11, and 12, those are the dates we maintain. And we visit the farmer to ensure that we collect that milk data. Then about the milk itself, we record before usage, and it is both a combination of both morning and evening. Then we have also given them calibrated jar to use to record, to measure the milk, then also to record to precision. So once they have the milk, it's in the jar, they have done the recording, that information is transferred to the milk receipt data. Then the receipt, a copy of it is transferred to a milk form. Then the milk form, which is now with the field officer, is submitted via a mobile app to the MIS. So basically, that is what happens. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Douglas. I've also learned a little bit here, so very happy to have this session. Lord, did you want to say something? Vickers.
Yeah, I wanted maybe also to add a bit, about the conspicuous agroforestry practices that they will come across when they come to the field. So these practices include fruit trees or fruit orchards. In some homes, we will find farmers have this. Then woodlots. These are small areas spared for trees. Then trees dispersed on cropland. And then also we have hedgerows, where now these trees are just planted in rows within the cropland. Then we have the boundary planting, where farmers have planted trees around their farms, and also the shelter belts, where maybe they have planted the trees between the farmland and the homestead to provide maybe to reduce the speed of wind, or maybe to bring some kind of privacy within the homestead. Yes, I didn't include that, but I think it is necessary because when they come to the field, they will come across such.
Yeah, for sure. I hope that, I mean, this is a lot, and I think it will take some time to digest everything. But do you have any questions before, everything that has happened, has been said? Miro?
Yes, I have a few questions. So I don't know, I think I just ask all of them and then they can be answered. So for the first one is I have noted that the KACP and the LMEP are both located in Bungoma. So that could be very helpful in terms of just saving time in terms of maybe shooting both if you can get farms that have both. And of course, any other area that has the best examples of them. And also to just, just add on, or rather just back up what Ferdinand told us, that some of these places we will find that they are not sequentially, the sequence is not like the way it is written. That is something that we also are aware of in terms of how we also record our videos. We actually, I think that could be helpful to know the locations, because the location can be the one that really determines how we are going to actually go about shooting. We don't have to shoot sequentially. That's just to back up what he had said. So the other one, so the other one is I heard that there are sometimes that the chief would come in terms for training for the group mobilization, and we would like to know whether we will have availability of a chief or a government representative in that period of that we're going to be shooting. The other thing is when it comes to the agroforestry systems, do we have farmers who have implemented most of those systems, maybe multiple? All this is towards saving of time, because we are not capturing everything, but we are capturing a sample of every single process. So if we have farmers who have most of the agroforestry system, it would be good to make sure that we capitalize on them. I also wanted to just a question to know what is the meaning of MIS?
Monitoring information system, right?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Douglas. Like it's the collection where all the data is stored.
That is noted.
Yes, please.
Final. Okay. The final question is.
Douglas, you just have to mute. I turn off the mic.
Okay, sorry. The final question I have is towards our creative process when it comes to the editing, that is the post-production. So what maybe we would need to get is these videos, are we creating one long video or many short videos with each process, having a video of its own? Or how, in terms of the creative editing, how do you visualize the videos to look like? And also, how is the information going to be dispensed on the video? For example, I'm sure that we will need to explain what these processes are, even as we use the shots. Are we doing that using text graphics or voiceover, or are we using both?
Do you want me to answer?
Yeah, so the one I want, maybe the one I need an answer is for
the last one.
Yeah, the last one for the videos. Is it just a long video explaining the whole process, or two videos, maybe one capturing CASP and the other one capturing Mount Elgon livelihood? Or is it short videos capturing each particular, or is it both?
It would actually be the latter, because since, for this production, we haven't planned any, movie or longer film coming out of it. It's the e-booklet that is the final production. And the only reason why we request videos in addition to photos is because, hey, why go out again and do the whole process over again and do the filming? So it's just to be, mindful of our time. And that's why I think it's good to have shorter sequences that are, you're the expert, Muir. I don't know how long it would be in order for it to be then later on cut into a longer film. Just to give you an idea, perhaps in December we decide we want to do an information video more in depth about the monitoring process. And then we have your beautiful clips on the monitoring process that we can just use and create a video out of it. But we haven't decided any production for videos yet. I hope that answered it.
Yes, thank you.
And for the agroforestry systems, I'm sure that I have myself witnessed several farms that have at least like 2 to 3 systems of different like composition of trees. So I think that's all in the planning. But I let perhaps Ferdinand address that further. Would that be okay that I just swoop in Ferdinand now to address that question? Or even Douglas or Lodwickus could also address it. Ferdinand. Then we'll let Lodwickus answer. Or don't you find your unmuting buttons?
Okay, yes. We have several farms that have a number of these practices. So maybe now it will also guide us when we are choosing on the farm to visit. So it's like you would prefer a farm that has several of these practices.
Mm.
Yeah, we'll give that a priority. Thank you.
Mm. I hope that covered it, Mira. Great.
Yes.
Beautiful. Mukami.
Yeah, I have only 2 because Mira's already, I don't know whether the one for the mention of the chief was handled. Then I have heard that we do geofencing, and the reason that was given is so that the farms can be located. Does that then mean there is a portion for us to capture the back end of how the location of that farm using geofencing happens? That's the first question. Then there's also another mention. Apparently, there's specific tools that need to be, apart from now the apps. I've heard of a specific measuring tool for the milk, and then also how to measure the trees. This is just to say for when we are on ground, for these tools to be the ones that are normally approved for that type of work. Those were my questions. The rest Muiro had already asked.
Yeah, great. I think I can address the geofencing, and then all the tools and that I will leave to Ferdinand. But the geofencing, or marking of the GPS points, that I think would be great too. I even have like another photo but I think that's very easy to visualize. But also then what we call the polygons, it's like a word for when you have like all the points mapped, then it becomes like a space, which I think is great also to visualize, because we have that on our computers, and maybe that's something possible to retract or receive. But as you hear, there are a lot of things that are happening, perhaps like more admin on the computer, and just to open up that, like, for the field, that might be something different. And if it's possible, we could also extend, so you can do something in Nairobi afterwards, so like we talked before, like staging at our office or something like that. That you will have that opportunity as well in extension, if you don't think that it will fit within these 5 days in the field. Okay. So now the tools like GPS measuring and those things. Ferdinand, are you there?
Sorry, Linnea, I'm struggling with my connection a little bit. I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
Maybe if the question could be repeated to me, maybe I missed it.
Yeah, it's just like basically all the props that would be needed for these photos, like you know, the specific milk bucket for measuring the quantity, the measuring, like all of these things that are required in the monitoring processes, that they are available when we're in the field.
Yeah, for sure. When we propose some of these ideas, I think we already looked at that we'll be able to provide measuring tapes, measuring jar, the tools we use to record, the app, and all. So those ones should be available.
I think it's good perhaps that we have like a checklist or something also.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can just perhaps add that one to the storyboard or something so that we know what to bring.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
But I also wanted to contribute onto so this question around videos, how long videos, and the issue of maybe voiceover or graphic illustration. There was a specific question around whether they'll have to produce a video for KACP, then another video for livelihoods. My take would be on that specific point that there are a lot of similarities between the two projects. I would give an example. If we are going to shoot...
No, we lost you now, Ferdinand.
The example I would provide, if you can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
the
it was
example
myself.
I would provide is if we were to do maybe a photo shoot of a stakeholders meeting, for instance, that is a process that is similar to both of them, and so that one photo should suffice for both, or if it was a video, a short video for that matter. But there are also places where the differences are significant in terms of a process. Then we might have to do it separately for KACP and rather separately for livelihoods. Another example could be in that regard, maybe tree measurement. So KACP until now, they have a different way of doing it from the way livelihoods does it. So in this case, then I think it would suffice to do production for both processes to illustrate that difference, at least for now. So those would be my examples, at least with regards to that. But we also envisioning a situation where there could be, especially on issues of admin, there could be, if possible, graphical production of some of those processes, just to explain the process, because maybe a video or a photo really might be very difficult to stage. I don't have a very good example, but I think in our previous considerations and meetings, we came to a point where we're wondering whether it's really, really possible. But if it's not, then you could also just think about animating a video instead, just to illustrate that. So if we get to that point, then maybe we can also discuss and agree. Thank you.
Yeah, but I think that's a bit like, I love the ideas. I just think it's a little bit beyond what this production is aimed for, since it's now.
Okay.
But the beauty of it is that since we have two different projects who have, as Ferdinand mentioned, both similarities and differences. If you think about measuring trees, it's great for us in the e-booklet that we showcase the two different ways of measuring, because the project developer, I think it's just beneficial for them to understand that there are, different ways of doing it. So that's just good. I mean, I would love if we had like 8 projects and we could showcase 8 different ways of doing it. That would even be like even more representative of this space. But the videos, I think, at this point, so because you have the main thing is the photos, of course. So you don't feel overwhelmed either with this assignment. Virginia, your hand is up. Now we see you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to show my face so that when you don't understand the words, you can read my lips. Okay, I have 3 things, and bear with me. I feel like there's one key important thing we're missing out in all this one process, and that is the challenges which are there when you are implementing, from actually designing up to implementation and monitoring of carbon project. I haven't seen somewhere where we are capturing any of the challenges which we face in order to have a successful carbon project. I would say our carbon projects are successful up to now. And I think, I wish we can think through how we can be able to capture some of the challenges which are there, not to showcase that it's just all a smooth line. The carbon project, from designing to implementation to monitoring to verification, is a smooth process. So I think we need to find a way where we can capture some of the challenges which are there when implementing carbon projects. Also, I'm glad Muiru brought this one up, because it was one of the key one for me, in that one thing which we might need to bring out a lot when we are doing this session or series is by just looking that we can be able to define who are the key players when it comes to carbon projects. And I feel like there was nowhere a place where the government was coming in. Just to mention that the three key players of carbon projects, in which they are consolidated in our project, is the proponent and the project developer. I think we have had Unique come in a lot. I don't know whether the team here understand Unique. Unique are more like the project developer, helping as the project proponent. In that case, now that one is okay. We are also talking about community members, which have come out very well. We have talked about the verifiers and the verification process. They are other key players, and also the standard setters, Vera. They fall in the same group. And also the other key players in carbon project, if we do not capture that really well, then we might be missing some points, and that is the government, either local, national, international, whatever it is, when it comes to a carbon project. So I'm glad that came up. We might need to see how we bring the government in as we capture all this process. My final point is that knowing how to showcase a story, a video, a photo, we have heard of the idea where one picture can tell what 1,000 words can say. But I am also going to say that when it comes to carbon project, when we are taking these videos or photos and engaging the players I've just mentioned, I think in our carbon project, the most powerful part, which we can give it an emphasis, or we can emphasize on, is the voice of the people. So I don't know what criteria you are going to be using on the ground, but I feel like, let's say you are doing an interview with a person. I feel like one of the most important thing you can capture is the quotes on how they say it, and place it in how it is being put. And I think that should come out as one of the most important thing when we are doing this exercise, this activity. I think I'm so excited about it, because I'm excited to see what comes out of it, because I think it will be very important. And maybe finally, I want to echo what Ferdinand said about the Mount Elgon project and the KACP project. I think for technical terms, we say an offsetting carbon project and an onsetting carbon project. When you look at Livelihood Mount Elgon, it's an offsetting. When you look at KACP, it's an onsetting carbon project. So there are differences in how things are being done, because one of the things which we cannot fail to capture is how the benefits from the carbon project are being shared in a carbon project. And when you look at Livelihood Mount Elgon, there's no sale of credits. Yes, the project is generating carbon credits, but there's not the aspect of selling it, because it's more of offsetting. I don't know in a layman's language, what we're saying is an offsetting project is where the carbon is generating carbon credits, yes, but there's no buyer involved. It's a company or an organization using the credits to offset the greenhouse gases they are generating. But for an offsetting project like KACP, we generate the carbon credits and we sell the carbon credits. So I hope that makes it a difference. That said, I think also looking at what Linnea said, showcasing the different ways of monitoring and the end product of it might be important because it's two different projects. That's my look on that. Yeah. Sorry, I think I talked a lot, but I hope the point is at home. So we need to really think across it and ensure that we capture the key components of the carbon project at a not very specific, but at a broader level, but also capturing what are the main areas which we need to showcase for a person who does not understand carbon project. And just while I am there is to showcase, because there's the ideology of greenwashing in carbon projects. So we want to bring these and showcase like what really happens to, so that people can understand that idea. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Like I've written a lot here, and I think that because we need to wrap up because we've extended so much, and I'm sorry for that. But I as you hear, we have a lot to say about this, and it's complex, and that's why I also love that you are the ones we selected, because I think the main mission here is to make this complex into something beautiful that someone wants to know more about, because at this point it's like people just give up. And if it's beautiful, that will attract more understanding to it, or attention, I would say. But I wanted to address something of what you said, Virginia. Please, to the chat list, I will send it to you. I've done like a Word file where you can just add what your take is on these key players that you want to include, because I think they fit very well in, for instance, there is an example of a stakeholder meeting and, these things, so that you are very specific of like you said, the government, I don't know what were the other ones that you said there were 3. Just that we have it clarified there, so it's not left to EPIC to handle it. And the second thing you said, challenges, if you can visualize any things that could be helpful for EPIC, because I think it's a bit abstract for them to figure out what the challenges are. So also if that could be included perhaps under inception or implementation or something like that you could consider. I think that would help out a lot at this process. I'm looking at the EPIC team. So that's one thing, and I don't think it would require too much. Just to wrap up, so I was also, Ferdinand mentioned that you, Douglas, could provide some reference material. So to also help EPIC out in this process, and you could send them to me by next week. I hope the 1st of July is okay, because you are starting with the storyboard next week. So it's important that we have them quite shortly. But also please look at the terms of reference where there are photos attached.
Okay.
What else? I was also thinking that the storyboard process, that would include all of us that are in this meeting. I also think Peter needs to be there. And would the 7th be okay of July, or would you perhaps the 8th or so? If everyone looks at their calendar so that we could align. Of course, David is not here, which is a shame, but we could just align with him. Which date would be best suited for you at EPIC?
Either is okay. 7th is okay. If you guys are fine with that, but also 8th is fine. Yeah, we're able to.
I may not be very open on the 7th. I think I'll be attending on the 7th. I'll be attending a physical meeting somewhere, but I'm open for 8th. If that would be good with most of us.
Perhaps 8. Virginia, you have a.
Yeah, I'm also open on 8th. 7th, I might not be available.
But then we take 8. Then we take the 8th. Lord Vickers, are you okay also with 8th?
No. For me, the whole of that week I'll not be available. But I think if Ferdinand will be there, there will be no problem.
Okay. And then perhaps we could record, and if you have any contributions or so, you could provide them afterwards. Is that okay? I take your silence as it's okay. And Douglas, are you available too? And would also the 1st of July be okay for sending some reference material?
Yes. That week of 7th, I think I'll be present. I can join the meeting, and then about these references, I think I'll be able to share. But I wanted to ask something about the reference materials. We talked of the photos, but our data collection is guided by already designed SOPs. So should also be able to share the SOPs we are using, like in dairy, in the tree inventory. I don't know.
But just collect what you think would be suitable in what we've been talking about today that could help them, and then you just submit that to me, and I will go through and then be the sort of middleman to then send them to Epic. So yeah, everything you think of like that could be in these steps I know everything would be helpful for them, for you. Mkami, you had your hand up.
I think on the challenges, maybe also to just match them with whether there were any mitigating or whether we overcame them, as we mentioned. Let's probably accompany it with some silver lining. If it's a challenge that managed to get a solution to it, instead of leaving it as a perpetual challenge, maybe we could mitigate with a solution, or I don't know how the team feels about that.
At this point, I'm unsure also what challenges they are, so I'm not best fit to address that. But I think, Virginia, if you contemplate a bit on that, and you also have all the shots there, so that you might be able also to see where it might best fit. But once again, it's just suggestions, and Mukami Muiru, I think that this has also started your thinking. Virginia, do you want to say something to that? Or?
Yeah, I agree. Actually, my point was what the challenges has been and how have we mitigated them. So I think I am in agreement. And Ferdinand and Lord Vickers can agree with me here. They will tell us the mitigation measures they have been able to tackle the challenges. Because, of course, the challenges are there. We have been able to tackle them. That's why we are still here. So I think I am in agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Muiru, final words. A full hour extended.
Yeah. Sorry, it's taken so long. So just a question on to Virginia. I think I had understood that the project doesn't include interviews, so that it's going to be basically like just covering the processes, but not so much interviewing the stakeholders. And also, just a suggestion, because throughout the presentation, we have been presented to the differences between LMEP and KACP. Is it possible to get similarities as well, so that we can, as we are doing our shortlists, we can be able to know these two we can just shoot once, and these two we can just shoot once, but this we need to shoot 2 times. Yeah, so if we can get also a list with the similarities, between the two projects.
I will request the Livelihoods to do that. Just like I think another slide, I would say Livelihoods to the PowerPoint that like complements the one that you did, which was a great slide. I'm actually going to add that to the guide, I think, because it's really I love visuals, so it's great to see those differences there. I hope you hear me, Livelihoods, and that's okay. Thumbs up, great. Then we have a lot of to-dos here. I will try to summarize them in an email so that you have them clearly for you. I will also book the storyboard first meeting then. Super excited for then 11 a.m. your time, East African time. Is that okay? Yeah. I will send out a meeting invitation. But this has been so great. I love all the comments and questions, and I hope it cleared up things more than messed it up. Yeah, but yeah, we're all learning. I'm learning a lot too from this because there are so many levels of it, as you have heard from us. Any final words, or are we good?
We are good. We're excited to keep learning. You guys seem to already know them off the top of your heads. By the end of it, I think we'll be at par with you guys in terms of saying those LFCPs and stuff. I hope by the time we are doing our storyboard, we'll be talking the short forms together with you guys. Right now, we need all the long forms, if possible, to abbreviations.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
Soon we shall catch up.
But it's complex. Like it takes a long time to understand the full cycle, and yeah, there's so many concepts. So be humble also towards yourself. Yeah. But I will submit a lot of things to you so you have it. I was also thinking that I will try to save this recording so you can also get it in one way or another. That might be also helpful. Great. Thank you so much, all of you, for also extending and prioritizing this. Appreciate it a lot. Have a beautiful weekend. Okay. Thank you.
And bye.
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 Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.